Girl, they know that. I just told them. Stop tripping. Let's see. Okay, so we're gonna try it one more time, y'all. Y'all, if you don't know me by now, I'm goofy. I like to have fun. Just chuckle along with me. Let's see. I'm gonna try it one more time, and then we're just gonna move forward. But you gonna work. Oh, it's saying I don't have permission in my own group. Okay, so guess what? We're just going to go with it. Okay. Okay. Hey, guys, thank y'all so much for joining me. So, this is the first live panel discussion of the HVC 2021. I have some amazing speakers with me today. I have Anita and Kimberly, whom I have worked with several times. I'm super excited about them. NaConda as well. I have worked with them several times before. I'm excited to be here with them. And then I have some newbies here. I've got Cynthia, Adrienne, Jania, and JeQuithia. Y'all, listen, I've said it over and over again because I think I want y'all to really understand how much of a labor of love this has been for me. It's been difficult. It's been frustrating. Many tears, many, I'm just going to quit. And people are saying, no, there's a reason for you. You're supposed to do it. My husband's like, get yourself together, girl. Stop tripping. That's really what he said to me. And other friends were like, you got this. Kimberly has been with me, rocked with me from the beginning. She's been like, try this. You should do this. Ooh, you should do that. The motto, because one size doesn't fit all, is all her. Late one night, like at 3 o'clock in the morning, she was like, ooh, and sent that to me. And so I'm excited. NaConda has been with me from the very, very beginning. We started our coaching business at the same exact time. I call her the peace to my storm. So I'm the one who's like rowdy. And she's the one like, hey guys, what's going on? Like she's super peaceful. And speaking of peaceful, Anita, y'all listen. Wait till y'all hear Anita's voice. Anita's voice will come, like you'll be like, yes, ma'am, I needed that. And she could just say, go pick up the bread. And you could be like, yes, ma'am, I needed that. Thank you. Like her voice is so soothing and humble. It's just, her spirit is amazing. So just want to give you a little background. But today in this panel discussion, we are talking about socialization, the big S word, should I say, right? For me, I will tell you my stance on socialization, and then I want each of you to tell me how you feel about socialization and how important it is to you. So for me, I don't care about socialization. I don't care. My goal is to make sure my kids are civilized. That means that I want my kids to be respectful to adults, to other human beings. That means I want them to be able to serve people, their community. That means I want them to speak with intelligence, be able to connect with other people, be who they say that they are in Christ. That's like my number one goal. And so when people say, what about socialization? I'm like, girl, my kids talk too much, or like my kids socialize with everybody. What are you talking about? So listen, I'm just gonna call on some folks and let's see what we got. I'm just gonna call random. I'm gonna call Jania. Jania, how do you feel about socialization?
Oh, this is a favorite question of mine. I like to start with the dictionary definition, and then I want you to think about this. So let me just read this real quick. It says, socialization is the process of learning to behave in a way that is acceptable to society. Now, I want you to think about that. How many behaviors are acceptable to society that we do not want our children to model?
Amen.
Right?
Listen.
So my stance on socialization is that my children are going to interact with the people that, for the most part, I want them to interact with until they're a certain age, right? Don't live in a bubble. So our children are going to meet other people. They're going to encounter, different experiences. But I want to, I try to shape that socialization. And children are magnets for each other, especially like little ones. If they're at the playground, they're not shy. They'll go up to a child that they don't know and ask them to go play with the blocks or play in the sand. So I think we have to be careful when we talk about socialization because we don't want our children to, you know, exhibit and behave in a lot of ways that are acceptable society, and we want to shape their hearts so that they can make, you know, very good decisions about who they socialize with and the way that they socialize. So
I
that's
think
my
that's so dope. Shape their hearts. I think
Mhm.
that is so dope. That is lovely. Okay, I'm gonna jump to Cynthia. Cynthia, how do you feel about that?
So I have a little different take because a big reason that we homeschool is that we have a variety of special needs in our family, including autism, which had a big, and for our family, a big part of autism is the socialization and the social skills. So one of the things that homeschooling lets us do that we wouldn't be able to do in a different educational setting is really target when we expect our kids to socialize. So we can pick when we really want them to learn those skills. So we can choose to prioritize only 2 hours a week of co-op or just a Taekwondo class. And that's the only hour of the day that they have to socialize outside of our family. And that's really paid off for our family. I mean, my 10-year-old is autistic. And last night he went to his first middle school youth group alone, without parents, without any accommodations, and had an awesome time. But he's been able to build those social skills in a really safe environments at really limited amounts of time that he could handle at a time. And so he could build it in a really safe and supportive environment. So that's been a really big part of our socialization, as well as we're, like Jania was saying, we're parenting with the end in mind. We're not trying to pick up the social cues from other 10-year-olds. We're trying to make them successful adults, and learning those long-term social skills and how to interact has also been a big part of what we do.
I think
So that's
an
what it looks like
amazing
at our
perspective.
house.
Yeah, that's an amazing perspective, because I never thought about that from the aspect of special needs. And you guys know I'm not shy about saying special needs is not my lifestyle. That's not what we are blessed with. And so with that said, I choose not to comment on it because it's not something that I know, that I'm familiar with. So yeah, that's a great perspective. I never thought of it that way. All right, so I'm going to go to Kimberly.
Well, I believe, like you said, civilization over socialization. I have a 10-year-old child also on the autism spectrum. He is an extrovert. I am an introvert. I have people ask me all the time, what about socialization? You got him locked up in the house homeschooling. That's what they think homeschooling is. My son is locked up in the house, not socializing with anybody. And I tell them socialization happens everywhere. Where we're in Kroger's, Walmart, Target, you're at church, you're at the park. My child is always socialized. He's a little social butterfly. However, my rebuttal to them when they find out he's homeschooled, and then they say, ooh, how do you socialize him? I kind of look at their child who's standing off in the corner and realize they go to school, and I'm like, shouldn't you want to homeschool too? Because my child seems more sociable than yours. So maybe we're not. And then I have to remind them that, the number one thing, because I grew up in the private and public school system. They tell us we didn't come to school to socialize. So where do we get this? If we're homeschooling, our kids aren't socialized.
That's a
I
good
can hold a
question.
conversation with the UPS man, with the mailman, with our neighbors, with the cashier at Walmart. He will hold a conversation with anybody.
So that's interesting too. So do you guys find that your children can communicate, or would typically communicate with adults more than they do with children? Because I noticed that with my kids. Like, they'll talk to kids, hey, let's go play, let's go do this, but they will have a full-fledged conversation with a 50-year-old man like they're a 50-year-old man. And they're like, ooh, they're so intelligent. I'm like, I mean, it really has nothing to do with them in being intelligent, but that we're intentional with how to be civilized with adults, other people, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about
But
that?
I thought it was maybe because my son was on the spectrum. That's why he will have conversations with older adults, not because he was around older adults. It was because he will play with kids his age. But with older adults, let's talk about Marvel Universe. Let's talk about why I like them more than DC Comics, where he will have those type of conversations he can have with his peers.
That's different. That's different.
Well, and that's what we see too. I mean, because we're in such a supportive learning environment, my kids love what they're learning in history. They love what they're learning about science. They're not going to be able to talk to the other 8, 10, 12-year-olds about that. I mean, my son was asking, why does a car not blow up when there's fire involved and how an engine works? Like, he can't talk to other 8-year-olds about that, but he can talk to the gentleman at church about how a car engine works.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ooh,
those more academic, higher interest things, they realize they can engage more with adults, and so they do. And we haven't taught them there's a stigma to talk to adults. I mean, versus in public school where they just want to be with other kids, because they're surrounded by so many more adults because of those natural interactions at the grocery store, at the store, at other kinds of appointments that they go to with us, because we're just living life versus being isolated in a classroom with so many same age peers.
That's good stuff. Anita, what do you think? What's your take on socialization? Here she comes, y'all. Here she comes.
So, probably being the oldest person here on the call today, we started homeschooling back in the 80s. And when you hear the word socialization, there were stigmas or stereotypes of homeschoolers and, what they look like and what their abilities were. And so some of that is coming from those old stereotypes. So when people ask you that question about socialization, it's a really great opportunity to help them to know that their perspective needs to shift. And so all of our children are finished. We homeschool for 20 years. Our oldest is a diplomat with the State Department. She has a bachelor's, a bachelor's, a master's. Our second daughter graduated as well from college, and she is a middle school science teacher. And our son is an entrepreneur and also works at a megachurch in the media department. And they each had a different path, but when people meet them, they're in shock because they're like, you're homeschooled, because it's not like something you talk about. So it comes up usually down the road. And so our children are really great representatives of the fact that kind of what everybody else is saying is that each family has the opportunity to take their personality and socialize their kids, quote unquote, in a way that works for their family. I've always said, if you can get along with your brother and your sister and your mother and your father in the house every day, homeschooling, you can get along with anybody.
Listen, because my kids fight all day, every day. I literally, before I jumped on here, I said, listen, I need y'all to understand something very important today. My conference today is the first day. I am anxious. I have a bunch on my plate. Please don't push me over the board. I will try to control my anger, my tongue, all that stuff, but don't do stuff is going to set me off. Please.
Exactly. So, that's a part of socialization too, that I think people don't realize. And the fact that you guys are all saying, being able to speak to multiple groups and multiple ages, it's just a natural part. Homeschooling is life, it's living. And socialization is just a part of living.
That's good. So Ruby asked, guys, and I'm going to be a snitch, but in a good way, okay? So Ruby asked if she's supposed to be here because she's the only attendee. Yes, ma'am, this is for the
Yes.
Okay. So listen, and because you're only here, what I was going to do was save the questions till the end, because I thought that there were going to be more people, but because you're here, if you want to jump in, ask questions, just raise your hand, let me know, and we'll have you in. But yes, you are welcome. We're glad you're here. The setup is for us to be homegirls sitting on the couch, drinking our sweet tea, coffee, water, Dr. Pepper, whatever it is, enjoying each other's company, talking about something that we love, okay? So you're definitely welcome. And then to answer your other question, I have 3 kids. I have a 17-year-old, a 14, almost 15-year-old, and an 11-year-old, okay? Does anybody else want to give their ages? I know Anita said she's done, child. She done did it, right? That is amazing. I know the rest, but y'all go ahead and tell your baby. So let's start with Kimberly. I'm just going to go in order on my screen.
I have one. He's 10 years old.
Okay. Cynthia. Can she hear me? Cynthia, how many do you have in the ages?
I have a 12-year-old daughter, a 10-year-old son, and an 8-year-old son, and they each have a different learning disability. So it's real fun at our house.
Oh, wow. Talk about tailor-made, like real talk. Okay. Adrienne, how many do you have?
Yeah.
Homeschool mama.
Out of the box kids, tailor-made, you are mine.
Okay, Adrienne.
I'm an old timer like Anita, and I've been homeschooling for 26 years now. I have 8 kids. My oldest is 31, and then I have a 30, 31, 30. I have to remember all of these ages, guys. And I have a 24-year-old, 21-year-old, 18, this month 16, this month 12, and I have an 8-year-old. So that I have all of those kids.
Listen, hats off to you. NaConda, how many do you have in ages?
I have 5. They are ages 5, 9, 13, 15, and 16.
And JeQuithia?
We have 4, 17, 12, 7, and 5.
And Jania?
I have 2, 12, about to be 13 on the 15th of this month. Did I say 12 about to be 15? 12 about to be 13.
That's sometimes true.
Listen, and we didn't catch it. Here's the thing though, Jania, none of us caught that. It made sense to us in our heads. We all heard that and we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just say
we relate.
And then I have a 15-year-old who just got his learner's permit yesterday.
Ooh, God bless you. Listen, my 17-year-old has her license and y'all, baby, stop. Baby, slow down. Baby. Like my heart is like,
I know.
No, she's doing better though. She's doing better. And Ruby, last but not least, how many babies do you have and what age group?
I have 3, 11, 10, and 7.
Okay. All right. Those are some pretty good ages. I like that.
And
Okay.
Sean,
So,
I didn't tell you how old mine are. 37, 35, and 31.
my God. Listen.
Oh.
So you can do this.
They're
That's
all
what I'm
30.
saying. That's all I'm saying. You can do this.
Listen, Anita
That's
over
right.
here looking like fine wine. Like she looking real good over here talking about 37. What?
Because I'm like, hold up, that's never age.
37.
This late. I'm 61. I'll be 61 in July.
Wow.
I'm going to look just
That's
like you when I
amazing.
turn
Wow.
61.
Okay. All right. So I don't know where I left off. I think Anita was speaking, right? So I'm gonna go to JeQuithia about socialization. No, Jania was talking, right? Who was talking, y'all? Was it Anita?
It was Anita.
Okay, so listen, do me a favor. If I skip over you, charge it to my head, not to my heart. Just say, Sean, girl, I want to talk. So JeQuithia, I know that NaConda, I'm leaving NaConda last just because, I like to hear her talk. But come on, JeQuithia.
All right, so I'm not really big on the whole socialization thing. That's not a worry for me because they talk to, Noah, that's my 7-year-old. He talks to everybody, like anybody. We can be outside. He'll go have a conversation with them. And like Kimberly said, like he can hold a conversation with an adult and they always are like, how old is he? I'm like, he's 7. But he's always been like that. My girls, on the other hand, they're more introverted, like me and their dad. So I kind of have to push them out a little bit. But again, Violet, she's my 5-year-old. She's starting to speak a little bit more to other people. She'll wave. And then she'll kind of get upset if you don't say anything back to her. Like, she's like, I said hi.
I know that's right.
I'm sorry.
I'm with you, Violet. You gonna speak to me. I spoke to you. You gonna speak to me. That's what you
exactly. And so like they'll play with other kids. They have cousins. Their cousins are homeschooled. And so they'll go to their grandmother's house and they'll play with, the kids over there in her neighborhood. They'll talk to the mailman. Sometimes we'll be outside and they hear the fire, they hear the trash truck come. They want to run outside and try to go talk to the trash people. So another thing that Kimberly alluded to, when we were in school, it was like, you didn't come here to socialize and stuff like that. And the only time that they really got to talk was on the playground, and a lot of schools don't have recess anymore. You know, even in the cafeteria, you know, they have like 20 minutes to eat where they can't really talk. So
That's
the whole
insane. Can we
It
pause
is.
for a second? Let me tell y'all something. When my kids were in public school, my daughter, if you know my daughter, she's cool, easy breezy. She bothers no one. She does her work, does what she's supposed to do because she doesn't want to get in trouble. So the class got in trouble. Like, it was to the point where the class would get in trouble and they'd make each student call their parent and say, the class got in trouble. And Yanni would call me and say, hey mom, the class got in trouble. I didn't do anything. And then the teacher would come on, yeah, she didn't do anything, but the principal's making them call every parent. So it was that type of situation. But what happened was they got in trouble, y'all, and they had to do a silent lunch. Do y'all know how mad I was for that? What they did was they put them in the lunchroom, sat them at opposite ends of the table all through the lunchroom. They couldn't talk. They couldn't do anything. I was like, what are we doing to these kids? Like, are we recreating jail? What do you mean? They can't talk to each other. Like, is it that serious? Did they beat them up? Did they set the school on fire? Like, what? Silent lunches? I'm sorry, that bothered me, y'all. I'm sorry.
It does, and that's what my oldest, you know, she was in public school, and that's some of the things that she was talking about as well, is that, you know, we don't really have friends, or like the friends that they did have, it's like artificial and stuff like that. And so like, I just didn't want that for my kids. And, you know, I put them in sports through YMCA. So like right now, Noah's playing, you know, baseball, and he's really enjoying, you know, baseball. And so we're going to look into getting Viola into gymnastics, you know, but she was diagnosed with anxiety and things like that. So that's another reason why we chose to homeschool her. So like the socialization for her, she was in a 2-day-a-week Mother's Day Out program. And she, like they said, like the whole 5 hours she was there, that she would cry like the whole time, like she wouldn't speak to anybody. So now with us pulling her out of that and just like working on, you know, working with her on that, like I'm just seeing how she flourishes more in the homeschool environment instead of, you know, school environment.
Mhm.
Good.
I'm sorry, y'all. Somebody was trying to get in, trying to find the link. Okay, so NaConda, I'm gonna go to you, and then Ruby, if you want to ask questions or talk or anything, you're gonna be next, okay?
I was taking notes because I am really excited that there is so much variety here. We have home educators on the end of the homeschooling spectrum, and we also have beginning homeschooling spectrum. So I'm writing down notes and everything, but I agree 100% with what everyone said. I remember when we started homeschooling, and I come from a family of educators. Most of my extended family is a teacher at some capacity, collegiate level or early childhood or whatever. And so my brother, who teaches high school, he was very concerned about our kids homeschooling and how are they going to meet people, you know, what's going to happen, are they going to make friends, how is that going to work? And I shared with him that when we were in public school, we were you know, in that same group of kids. Most of the public school career, you stay with that same class, you graduated with the same people. It was very rare that you were able to venture out and meet new people unless you went to the other side of the tracks or you were invited to another school's dance or something. And so with that, we have been able to meet people that we would have never met from other cities, from other states, from other walks of life. And so our socialization is exactly that. It's socialization. It's not just keeping us in this bubble where they can only talk to the kids in the classroom, or they can only talk to the kids, you know, in this grade. Like y'all have been saying, they talk to adults, they talk to kids, they talk to city workers or other, you know, people in the grocery store. It varies. And so someone mentioned how, I think it was Kim that mentioned like the public school kid that was hiding behind their mom, and your child is talking to everybody else. Like, that's not socialization in public school. So for homeschool, it's a lot different, and it's better to me. It's a lot better.
Yeah. So Thea D just joined us. I'm gonna grab Ruby first. Y'all, Thea D is my homeschool bestie. I'm gonna be real honest with you. We talk all the time via text, usually, if not every day, but it's even, hey chick, you all right? And it's like, no, I'm not all right. That's, or yes, I'm okay. But I'm gonna come to her last and go to Ruby. But Ruby, did you have any questions for anybody on the panel or any comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity just to hear, some positive things, because I just started homeschooling my 3 in November 2020. I just pulled them out because we were doing remote and I wasn't happy with anything that I was seeing. So I just decided to do something. I started doing research, and that's like the main thing that I keep getting now, that the schools are going to open back up. Like, oh, but how are they going to socialize? But they need socialization. And it's like half the time I don't even want to think about the times where they used to come home and say, oh, we had a silent lunch today and this and that. And, you're going to the school and trying to fight for, like, why do they have a silent lunch? Like they have to be quiet the whole time they're here. So it's a lot and to explain to different people, but it's good to have this reinforcement that, I'm not crazy. So thank you.
You're not. You're welcome. And see, for us, I was going to ask a question too. My kids, if you'd like to, you're more than welcome to say how your kids socialize. You're more than welcome to say it, but I will tell you how my kids do it. Back when we haven't gone back to in-person church yet because my son plays select soccer and we have games. So we've been watching it online. But church was one of the main ways that they connected with people. My son, again, plays select soccer, so he connects with his team there. My other son played a homeschool basketball team, so we were actually connecting with other homeschoolers. We would go to our local library. We couldn't do co-ops in our house because the way that one of our businesses work, we have to be available like in the morning time from 7 to 12 on phones. And when I say on phones, it's like put down one phone, pick up the other type situation. And so co-ops didn't work for us for that reason. However, that's how we chose to socialize. And then they go over to, like, there's a certain set of cousins that are, and this sounds bad, but I don't mean it bad, but they're not judgmental. They kind of let my kids be free and they understand that we're homeschoolers and all that good stuff. So we spend a lot of time with them. So that's how my kids socialize. So does anybody else want to talk about how their child socializes?
I mean, I'll say something. As far as my kids, when they were younger, I would always find a family that had similar age kids as mine. And we would plan, one girlfriend had 9 kids. So when I threw a birthday party, we already had all the people to come, between my kids and her kids. I didn't really need anyone else. And that it was fun. Yeah. And as far as socializing, I got that question every time when I first started out. But the way I look now, since I'm almost done with it, I realize that what they really were asking is, are your kids going to be with kids who are the same age as they are? And from what God says, kids are fools at a certain age. You don't need them to be with kids that are their same age all the time, and especially in the public school setting. I had kids who were in the public school system, and there was always chaos, always some sort of bickering, jealousy, fighting. I had a daughter that would come home telling me stuff all the time about some sort of argument that the kids were having. It was just too much drama. But my same daughter, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
My same daughter can social. When we go to church, she talks to grown-ups and have a conversation with little kids. She works in children's church. So that's the importance. And for me, as far as socializing is concerned, I want them to be able to talk with anyone. I used to do daycare, and this little boy who was in public school came to my house, and I had a baby at the time. He told me he hated babies. You know why? Because he was in public school and he was always just with his aged children, that his same age. He couldn't understand just having a relationship and being around little babies. But of course, needless to say, I had to school him and let him know if I'm going to babysit you in my house, you will learn to love babies. You're not going to hate my baby. You know, and eventually that boy did change his mindset. So socialization is overrated. Socializing is overrated. But my kids, they have been in, you know, homeschool band, swim teams, sports. We give parties. And as a mom, you have to go out of your way to have parties or do something. You know, you have to drive your kid. If they're young, they can't drive themselves there. So you're going to have to do it. Yeah. I did a lot of sacrificing when my kids were younger. If they wanted to hang out, I drove them to that friend's house, you know, if they asked me to. But, you know, and I love the fact that homeschooling is when it comes to socialization, you can control who your kids are around.
Those influences.
Yeah, you don't have to let your kids just be with any old person, as opposed to when they're in public school, you don't know who they're around. Not really, because you're not there.
Yeah. And what they're being exposed to. I told you guys, well, if you followed me, then you know this story. But one of the things that kind of pushed us over the edge too was, you know, I was a basketball coach. So for my kids' school, the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, they had a team, boys and girls. So I was their coach. And then for the 7th and the 8th graders, they had a basketball team, and I was their coach as well. And we were practicing or something, and one of the kids was like, coach, somebody's over by the playground doing some stuff. And I'm like thinking like, you know, they 6th, 7th grade, they kissing maybe at the most, right? Like not too much. Y'all, those babies were doing grown up stuff behind there. Yes.
Wow.
And I was like, oh.
Yes, it happens all the time. Yep.
And it was sad because it was like, you go down the train of thought, what have they been exposed to even know to do those grown folks things? Like what are we doing? So you're absolutely correct about what they're being exposed to and who they're being exposed to, right? Because you just get that friend that says, let me try some on you. I saw my so-and-so do it, or I watched this video, or whatever the case may be. And there you are, there you are trying to figure out how your kid has been exposed to things they had no business being exposed to in the first place.
Yeah.
Like Sean, I can tell people that all the time. They're like, put your kid around other kids. You don't know what this child's parents' beliefs are, what they're exposing their kids to, what this child know. For example, I work in maternal health. My son is 10. He can tell you where babies come from. He can't tell you how they got there, but he can tell you where they come from. Like your child may think the baby, the storks dropped the baby off. My child would tell you about the first trimester, second trimester, third trimester. He would tell you about breastfeeding because of what he's been exposed to through my work. And I'm like, and I was, if your child don't know about breastfeeding, you may not want them to talk to Billy. Billy will hear a baby crying in the store and tell the mama, you're going to pop the breast in the mouth. That'll calm the baby down.
Listen,
you know,
do it every time.
But, you know, on the flip side, you got kids who see their parents smoke weed, do drugs, and they think it's normal.
Yep.
Normal.
You know, there's a picture on my page who said one child was in the 5th grade talking about how their mama boosts from the store like it was nothing.
Yeah. Because it was normal. It was normal to them, right? So you can't be wrong.
You can't just link your child.
No, you cannot. No.
And I used to be upset because when we grew up, I was born and raised in Jackson. I could not hang out with the other kids in our neighborhood, and I could never figure out why my parents would let me do that. But as a parent myself, I can kind of see, you don't know what these other kids are being exposed to, and I'm trying to keep you from doing this. So I'm going to pick who you socialize with. And I want to meet their parents so I can kind of get a feel for about what their parents do.
I mean, my boys didn't like it, but hey, and I mean, as they got in their teens, it kind of like rubbed them the wrong way, but now they have thanked me. You know what I'm saying? Because they're older now and they realize the difference.
Yeah.
I was going to say that our kids, you know, were the same way. And it was like, how come we can't spend the night and this, that, and the other?
Right.
You know, at first it was, you know, well, we're concerned about the other kids, but as I grew older, I began to understand I might be saving your child because, you know, everybody has struggles and everybody has challenges. So it might be my child who knows something that I don't know they know, and they're going to share it with someone else. So it's not this idea that my child is, is better. It's just that the levels of maturity that they're at right now, they need some boundaries. They need some holding until they can mature enough to be able to navigate those other places. So I don't even have to make a judgment about, who's good or who's bad. It's just not time yet for them to have that kind of freedom.
I wanted to say something real quick. I definitely did all the things that you all have talked about. When mine were little, I was intentional about having those play dates. I had a Spanish co-op in my house where we had a Spanish teacher come and other parents brought their children so my children could learn a little bit of Spanish, definitely through church programs. But what I wanted to say was with my camp, it's 4 weeks, during the summer, and my boys have grown up since age 3 attending. But that is a school-like environment. There are children from all over, and mostly public school who attend my camp, some homeschoolers, and people come from different states too. So that was kind of part of my design, that I wanted to be intentional about their socialization. And I'm there, like I'm on site, but I'm not in the classroom with them. But if Caleb is acting up or, Christian experiences something, they knew where to come to get me, and then we would also have discussions around the table, like, okay, how was camp today? Because I'm running all over the place. And I hear this word that they say, this word that we don't use, language that just, they've never heard me or my husband say it. But these are the kind of the testing grounds and the learning, opportunities to learn and teach, because we're training our children. We're raising them a certain way, but they are going to be exposed to other things that we may not like, but those are opportunities to teach, and you have to be intentional. So I wouldn't say, I would say we have to protect our kids. Definitely. I'm all about the protection, but research, different co-ops or different programs, research find out who's running them, who's participating in them, go and check it out, be there. You might even want to be there on site the whole time, just in case something goes down, you're there. But I appreciate, those opportunities, because I'm hands off at that point, and I'm kind of, letting go a little bit, but then asking, following up with my children, and then they're telling me about experiences, they're telling me about things that other children are saying, or I get a call from a parent about something my own child said. And I'm like, oh, can we meet right now? Like, can you step into my office?
Yeah, he probably did say that. I'll address it. I apologize.
And I've had those moments where I'm like, I'm so sorry. We're doing the best we can, and he's going to apologize. And we've talked to him about, X, Y, and Z, and he's going to apologize to you. We've had those moments. So it's not going to be perfect, but I would just say be intentional about creating those different environments as protected as possible. And then the last thing I was going to say is, with the whole virtual learning that everyone's gone through, whether you wanted to or not, my youngest is a social butterfly. Like, he's a social butterfly in person, but he's a social butterfly online. So, there might be concerns about the virtual, and you have to be careful, who your children are interacting with. I know who he's talking to. I know when he's talking to them, and I have everything on my phone. I can see all the discussions, everything, but he hasn't missed a beat socially.
It's funny that you say that, because I'm about to tell on Thea and I. So our boys were in a class together, y'all, and they're in class getting their work done, trying to work, and a little girl was sending them messages during class, trying to talk to them. Do you like them? Do you like her? Do you like this? And my son, bless his heart, he is his mama's child. He just said it flat out, like, I'm trying to do my work. Like, what are we doing here? Like, y'all, you're absolutely correct, though. I just had to tell that story. And then I'm going to give Thea an opportunity to talk, y'all. I left Thea for last because Thea can go, y'all. We'll be here for a minute. I love you, though. You know I do. But Thea has all kind of information, and then she'll be like, ooh, guess what? Guess what? Come on, Thea D.
Hey, ladies.
Hey.
Thank y'all for having me. I am Thea Parker. I'm a homeschool mom of 2. I have a son, King is 11. Sit down. King is 11. Love is 8.
That was love, wasn't it?
You know it.
Yeah. Hey, love.
This is Love. She's 8 years old. I've been homeschooling since birth. Sit down, Love. Thank you.
Isn't that Sean?
Yes, that's Miss Shawn. She said
Hey,
hi.
baby.
We live in Naples, Florida, on the beach. I am a real estate consultant by trade, so I've been doing that in 7 different capacities. And socialization has not been as much of a, I guess it's not been much of a question for us, probably because their mother is an extrovert. So people already knew mama gets the party going, so we don't have to worry about them socialize. So for me, homeschooling is great for me. I'm able to have my own schedule. We can go where we want to go. We can have fun. We can stay as long as we want to stay. We can get up when we want to do it. So socializing for us is like, I mean, that's my middle name. I love to socialize, whether it's beach days, whether it's the movies. I talk to strangers. Like, I know people scared in grocery stores. My daughter serenades strangers, okay, in grocery stores. They know her, right? We go to the local Walmart, we go to the local Publix, we go to the local Whole Foods. Hey, love, how you doing? Like, so we have no problems. My son is complete opposite though. So the beautiful part about homeschooling, I love in the socialization realm, is whoever you are, you can be that. If you're an introvert, you can be an introvert. If you're an extrovert, you can be an extrovert. Children are forced into these boxes when they have to go to school. You're either going to be forced to be quiet or forced to talk. It's not an elective perspective, right? So if you have a child who loves not talking during lunch and who likes to stay to himself, it's great, right? It works great for him. But then the child who doesn't and wants to talk and wants to socialize, it doesn't work for them. I was the chick that got used. Y'all remember the used on the report card when you was a kid? I got used every report card for talking too damn much.
No,
yes.
ma'am.
My whole life, talking too damn much. Used on every report card. She's an A student, but she just doesn't stop talking. So my daughter is the exact replica of me. So that's expected. So it allows us, being at home, to tailor their socialization to what they enjoy. My son he likes to talk to people, but it's only if he's talking to things they like to do, like video games or gaming or that computer, what do you call that music? Electronic music, like
mess. No,
yes,
that's what you call it.
Yes, it's so noisy, right? That's what he loves to listen to. He want to create his own, but my daughter wants to sing and dance and watch trolls and learn the lyrics, and that's me, right? That's me. So being that we're able to foster that, my son likes to be online and computer gaming with other boys that like to game, and they listen to that noise. It works perfect. So I love the idea of homeschooling from that area of socialization. People didn't really ask me that too much because their mother is,
they knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah, they knew they ain't had to worry about that. And their dad is the opposite, right? So dad is like son and daughter is like me. I do have an interesting story though that I like to share from meeting a police officer. We were going to, what do you call it? One of those street festivals where they have like food trucks lined up and the police are out there making sure everything is in orderly fashion. And we were in town, born and raised in Mississippi, but my kids have moved all over. So we were in Mississippi visiting my parents, and we go downtown to this event. Police are out there and get out the car. King and Love walk by the police. Hello, Mr. Officer. Hello, Miss Officer. Like they're just happy and speaking. Now this is Jackson, Mississippi, Kimberly. Jackson, Mississippi. So the police officer's face was like, where did these kids come from? I know y'all are not from Mississippi.
Officers.
And so I was like, yeah, technically they were born here. I was born and raised here. I said, but we've traveled all over. They were like, we were going to say it was a man and a woman. They were like, we knew something was wrong because the kids around here don't speak to the police. No one speaks to the police, right? My kids speak to everyone, just like everybody else. Babies to the elderly. We live in an elderly community. They leave stuff at the door every day for my kids. Every day they leaving something.
Oh, how sweet.
Yes, we love our community. They leave something every day for our kids. So my children have learned and they understand, like school keeps you in a box, right? I have to talk to my 10-year-old friends because that's all I can talk to. I can't talk to anybody else. And then when you get outside of that box, right? Outside the box, as Sean always says, you know, educating outside the box. I love that. Outside of the box, anywhere, it's open game and it's open season. So I love that it's homeschooling, that you can socialize with anybody and anywhere. Public school kids is the total opposite. They scared to talk. They scared to say anything. They don't know you. They don't say nothing. So my kids have a problem making friends with public school kids because they don't talk.
They're different, and they're very people tend to think that, and that's the thing too. We have a guy, we've gone to church with the same church maybe I think 7 or 8 years. We talk to this guy all the time, and his wife passed away a few years ago, like right before COVID passed away. And so our family, wanting to serve him, we would go over and have game nights with his kids and bring dinner and all that stuff. And he finally, he was like, oh, you guys homeschool? He's like, they don't act like homeschoolers. I'm like, how do homeschoolers act? Like what?
They're supposed to be weird, quiet.
Listen, my kids are weird.
They're supposed to act like public school kids.
My kids are weird. And let me explain to you why they're weird. Because their mama is weird. They were having a full conversation. They were playing Monopoly. They were playing pictures. Like they were doing everything. And I think it was just maybe the behavior. Maybe that's what they were expecting. I don't know. I don't know. But it was interesting because you guys, we had served together, we're elders together, like we've done this whole thing 9 yards, and the guy had no idea that we were homeschoolers. I'm like, how do you spend so much time with somebody and miss a key part of their life? Because I know that we've mentioned it before, but like, how do you miss that? And now you're like, oh, you're homeschoolers? So listen, let's see, our homeschool is called Out of the Box Academy, says Ruby. Ooh, I like that. That's cool.
I like that.
Get you a t-shirt made, child. So listen, it's 12:50 and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. What I'm going to do is go around the room the way the screen is on my screen. So I'm not picking anybody in particular. I'm just going on the screen. I'm going to give you last comments, and then I want you to tell us how to follow you, connect with you, or anything to that effect. So Anita, you're first. You're in my top corner there.
Awesome. So my nugget would be keep going. Even when you don't understand or are sure, just remember what you've been called to and know that there is grace to get it done. If you'd like to connect with me, you can check me out at Anita Gibson Edu on Facebook, or you can join my group called Simply Homeschool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Anita. Okay, Kimberly.
Everyone, my nugget is socialization happens anywhere. You don't have to do anything special to socialize your kid. It happens anywhere. You can connect with me on IG. I am the Southern Mocha Homeschooling Mom.
Okay, all right. And Cynthia?
So my nugget would be, we started my kids in public school, and they wanted to go back to school because they missed their friends. So they wanted the socialization that they knew in the public school. And it wasn't until we intentionally plugged into a local co-op and we were able to replace those friendships that they were able to fully embrace homeschooling now. And all three of them, well, my youngest thinks he want to go to school, but he thinks it'll be too hard, except he's a year ahead curriculum wise. So I think he'd be sorely disappointed. But none of them want to go back now because they know the freedom. We talk about the freedom. We talk about the social opportunities they have because of homeschooling. So I think it's important to dive into finding that community, whatever that looks like. If it's a close friend, if it's other activities, sports, whatever, finding that community. Because especially if you're coming from public school, it's going to look different and the kids are going to miss it. So being able to intentionally replace that. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Inside Our Normal, where we write about life in homeschool with Out of the Box Kids.
Y'all, and I've been following Cynthia recently since we started this conference. We are in a group together, and we would kind of like here and there pass each other, but never really connected. But I've been following her, y'all. She's super active on her page. Like if y'all think I'm active, she's posting articles, she's got pictures, she's got examples. So if you're looking for something where somebody's showing you an inner look of what homeschooling looked like, she's on her page is pretty active. I'm like looking at like, oh, maybe I should post. No, I don't want to post that. All right, Adrienne, you're next. You're muted.
Okay, hi. Ruby, my nugget would be when it comes to socialization too, I would advise you to keep your eyes on your path. Don't get confused with everyone else's, what they're doing. You have to do what's best for your family. If I had listened to what the people were telling me when I was younger, my kids I would have been in trouble. So you got to keep your eyes on what's good for you. Take advice from the veterans, but you have to carve out your own path when it comes to socializing and homeschooling and just, your children's lives altogether. And if you would like to follow me, you can catch me at Homeschool Mom of 8 on Instagram. And I also have a website with the same name, Homeschool Mom of 8.
Homeschool
And
mom
nice
of
to see
5
you.
million kids, because she has a whole tribe over there now. I'm messing with you. I love it.
Yeah.
Listen, you're amazing. I'm not that chick like that. Listen, God knew what he was doing when he gave me my 3, because I fight kids, y'all. I mean, I'm trying to
do some fighting myself,
listen,
but
I'm trying to switch over to gentle parenting. I'm trying to, take that and handle it correctly. But sometimes my mama comes out and I'm like, "Ooh, Deborah Lynn, where did you come from? Well, go back where you came from, Deborah Lynn." Okay, JeQuithia, you're next.
My nugget would be, your kids. So what works for, we have 4 kids, so they're all different. So what works for one isn't going to work for the other one. So socialization, find some friends for them and put them in sports or church activities, things like that. You can find me on Facebook at The Caffeinated Nutritionist, on Instagram, _caffeinated_nutritionist.
All right. And Jania.
Hey, Ruby, and anyone else who's going to listen later on. My nugget is to be the PI for your children. So PI, I mean, be protective, but be intentional.
Okay.
Which encompasses what everyone else has already said. Be intentional about a plan for your children. Be protective about who you allow them, to be around, but have that plan because you do want them to enjoy homeschooling. And some of the activities that I enrolled my children in was strictly just for fun, because I didn't want them to just think we're just doing all this educational stuff. And yeah, I'm having some fun, but I'm not having like a whole lot of fun all the time. So just that PI, be protective and be intentional. You can connect with me on Instagram at Kids and Culture Camp, website kidsandculture.com, and on Facebook, Kids and Culture. So thank you. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome. And Thea D.
Hello. Okay, so you can find me on Thea Parker Show on Instagram and Facebook. I guess my socialization nugget would be kind of the same as what Jania said, that you have to develop what works for you and your child, is in my opinion. Every child is different, so what works for one is not going to work for other. The beauty of homeschool is you can do that. Everybody's not in the same box.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, and NaConda left. I was trying to be respectful again because this is lunchtime, but NaConda left. I know that you can reach her as at NaConda in Frank Consulting.
Yes.
And I don't know what nuggets she would have, but she would have some good ones. I'm not going to speak for her, but you are more than welcome. She's in the conference, so if you want to reach out to her, you're more than welcome to. Something that NaConda is doing, and I don't know if any of the other ladies are doing this. I know that a lot of us are entrepreneurs. I know that Thea is working inside the home, but she just was recently working outside of the home. But NaConda is a preschool teacher. And if you watched her live last night, she went from being a preschool teacher 3 days a week to 5 days a week. So now she is working outside of the home 5 days a week and also homeschooling her 5 babies. I always forget the baby. And that's the one that's the loudest, child. So that's a good person to follow. But y'all, thank you so much for joining me again. My name is Sean Taylor. My nugget for you would be, again, to find your tailor-made fit. And that may be pushing and pulling and tearing and ripping and sewing and doing all that stuff together. I will say for socialization, my daughter is an extreme introvert. Like, it's terrible. It's painful almost. And it has gotten to the point where we literally try any and everything for her to connect with other people. So it's, what do you like to do? We tried homeschool band. We tried art club. We tried, the local homeschool area was doing teen meetups. So we went to the local coffee shop and they walked around the outside mall with some of the teens. And she was like, nah, fam, this is not my life. And so what I will say to you is try everything, at least try it. You won't know if it works. I like the P and the I. I think that's absolutely amazing. And so be intentional. She's absolutely correct. Be protective and be intentional when trying to do that, but don't be so scared. And I guess that's what I want you guys to realize more than anything else is I don't want us to be scared of the outside, because our kids are going to be the light for the outside. And so in that, I want us to be mindful of that. Yes, we want to be protected, but we don't want to shelter them. Yes, we want them to, do what they're supposed to do, but we don't want to have them shocked when they get out into the real world, like trying to experience things. So
we have balance.
Exactly. Balance, right? The P, the I, and the B, right? Protective. What was it? Intentional and balance. I love it. I love that. Okay. So join us again, Ruby. I hope you'll join us again. We'll be back tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hopefully some more speakers and these ladies will be back with us, but every day, 12 p.m. and 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, live panel discussions, y'all. I'm going to jet off of here. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I appreciate every single one of you. You guys have blessed my day tremendously.
Have a great day.
Have a good day, guys.
Bye.